Hi everyone, it's French and Yel,
Hey guys.
and today we're gonna do 10 questions to get to know us better.
Mm-hmm.
First question.
Okay.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book I've ever read.
Yes.
Oh, that's really hard. Is this fiction or nonfiction? Like
Whatever.
any genre.
Anything that has words
Anything.
on it.
Oh, this is so goofy. I love the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. Unfortunately, the only thing that irritates me about them is that she is still writing them and she keeps doing like offshoots. So she's been writing this book series since, and it's historical fiction, but it's just rife with like really rich historical details. And I love the different time periods. It's all, well, not all of it actually, because they kind of travel around in the books, but it has time travel. She's in England and Scotland, and it talks about all the different wars and the history at the time. And it's phenomenal. The characters are awesome. She's still writing these books, and though she started in the 90s. So there's people who've been reading these books starting for like, what, we're into the third
Like
decade
the story
now?
hasn't finished?
No.
Are they old now?
She hasn't written a book and like dropped one in like 4 years. They get older though. They get
Okay.
older in those series. But yeah, I can't watch the actual series. I know a lot of people love the TV show of this. However, I cannot get behind it because I had a very distinct visual in my mind of how Claire and Jamie were going to look. Did not match up, and I turned it right off and I said, nope. Yeah. So still waiting for it to come out with, I think it's the 9th or the 10th book, but they're very long. They're, close to 1,000 pages each. So you really just like get immersed in them and the characters and the history and the relationships. It's really awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm just going to ask you, so what's your favorite book of all time?
My favorite book is called My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. And she wrote a trilogy, and it's about two friends who grow up in Naples, and it follows them throughout their whole life. And it shows how they've like navigated school and jumping social classes and the marriages and children and all of the pitfalls and challenges that come with growing up in southern Italy, but also like navigating just life together. So it's really beautifully written.
I love that.
I have a copy. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It's
just one book? Or
it's 3 books, but the first one is My Brilliant Friend.
Okay. Very cool. How long ago did you read it? Was it recent?
No. It was probably like 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I also love Emily Henry. That's like a guilty pleasure. And some of hers I haven't enjoyed as much, but People We Meet on Vacation is always one that I recommend to someone going on a trip for an amazing vacation read. Again, she just has a way with words, and her sense of humor is so good and spot on. The way the characters interact and the witty conversations and banter back and forth, I just love. So it's another great author. I love her work. Yeah. All right, what you got for me?
Okay, next question. Tell me your childhood trauma.
Oh my gosh. Have we not covered that enough? So much. And you know what's funny? It's like, okay, tell me if you feel this way. When I was a child, I didn't think I had childhood drama. I thought I had a pretty good child because it's just your childhood.
Yeah.
It's not until you get older and you talk to other people about their experiences and you realize, oh, wait, none of that was normal. Yeah.
I also thought, I knew that my family wasn't normal when I was a kid. But like, until I got older, I didn't realize that everyone
feels that their family's not normal.
Yeah. So like everyone, there's always something.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is, what's your favorite place to go on a trip?
Oh, London. Without a doubt. London, I am convinced I was like lived there many, many lifetimes or something. Just ever since I went there, I think I was 11 the first time we went like outside the airport in London. And I just remember feeling so at home and I loved it. And just walking around like the city, the parks, the history. I've just always been an Anglophile and loved that and been drawn to it. And I'm so lucky that I get to go back, kind of at least once a year now, and have already been twice this year because it's just my favorite place. It's such a big city, but it feels very manageable, walkable. I don't know. I was going to say that it's funny how like the people aren't even known for being friendly, and I just love the people. Like I love the stiff upper lip with like the just get on with it and the sense of humor. Like the sense of humor, I feel like
Very dry.
So dry and sarcastic and just like kind of like mumble a one-liner, and it's just fucking hysterical. But I feel like sometimes people here, I feel like that's kind of my sense of humor, but people don't get it. And like, I don't know, people are more offended in the States. But there was this one post on social media, and it was going through birthday cards in the UK for people's family members, and it was hysterical.
They have great cards there, yeah.
They were all just disparaging, but just like in the funniest ways. And they're like, no, this is exactly the kind of card you get. And the Americans were like horrified. They're like, oh, you can't give people this card. And they're like, no, it's the sense of humor. Like, this is exactly the kind of card you give someone on a birthday. Is like, they're taking the piss from someone, you know? It's hilarious. I love it. Yeah. Now, what is your favorite city? I don't think I've ever asked you that before.
That actually reminds me of a quote that I hear I don't know by British people, but I don't know where it originated. It might be American. But it's you have a face for radio.
Yes.
But I wonder if we have a face for podcasting.
I hope we at least have a voice for podcasting. Well, we haven't, to this date, posted anything on the YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel.
We do have a YouTube channel.
And we will have the videos up there eventually. We currently do not. So I don't know. You can tell us. Vote yes or no. Do we have a face for radio or a face for podcasting?
No, don't vote that. My ego can't take it. I don't want to know.
Oh,
I'll live
hilarious.
in blissful ignorance.
We'll start wearing paper bags over our heads. It'll be good. You'll never know. Or masks.
Oh, God. Everything we say always sticks to dark.
Oh, man. Wait, so what is your favorite city?
Paris.
Ah,
I love
Paris.
London too.
Yes.
But Paris is...
I feel like people are either a London or a Paris person.
Yeah. Some people like Italy. Italy may be third runner-up.
Yeah.
But Paris, I lived in Paris for a bit, for a hot minute, and I just love Paris. Same thing.
When did you live in Paris?
I moved there when I was 17.
No way! I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I thought you like studied abroad or were older when you went to Paris.
Well, I studied there, but I was 17 when I moved there.
Wow, that's young.
I was young. I don't know what my parents... Like, they must have been freaking out because...
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? That's like Audrey in 4 years.
Yeah.
Going to live in another country abroad. Were you with a host family?
No,
or in like a
I
school
lived
program?
in like the
Dorms?
servants' quarter of a really fancy
Did they sell
building.
you into indentured servitude?
No, she was lovely. She studied. She was like, the owner was a woman who, I wasn't like her servant or anything. I didn't do anything for her. I just lived in like old Parisian apartment buildings have like these beautiful, like in the 16th, like in very nice areas, have like servants' quarters, like places where like
a little extra apartment,
where a lot of like now students live.
Okay.
But back
and did you go to school then?
Yeah.
Was it close, or did you have to traverse the city to get to school?
I was in the 16th and it was in the 7th where I studied, and it was close.
See, that's why I don't like Paris. I cannot figure out the map of what arrondissement is where.
It's like a big circle.
It's a spiral. It's a Fibonacci. Yeah. It confuses me. I don't know it well enough, and therefore it confuses me. This last time we were there, I kind of feel like I navigated enough around to get just my little area, but I couldn't even tell you or remember what arrondissement it was in. So, am I saying it right?
Yes.
Arrondissement. My crowning achievement while we were there was saying bonsoir convincingly enough as I walked in the door that they then started to speak to me in French, and then I would have to admit that I didn't speak any French and I only spoke English.
That's all I got.
I know. And unseen. Okay.
Next question. Favorite gadget?
It's too explicit. No.
PG-13 gadget. Our podcast is already rated as explicit.
I know. We're already rated explicit.
But my children might listen.
Gosh, gadget. Aside from my phone or my computer, I'm trying to think of something unique here. I mean, this is stupid. I super love my little mini lightweight Dyson pet vac cleaner. I love that thing. It's lightweight. You plug it in. You can like kind of stick it. The stick, that long vacuum stick.
It doesn't have the cordless one.
Yes, the
I want
cordless
that.
one. My only complaint about it is that the battery life is not great sometimes.
That's what I heard.
I've had a couple of them over the years, and I'll usually stick one like in a rental house and stuff too, if I'm getting that ready. It's so lightweight and convenient. I hate lugging around a big vacuum cleaner, so that one is like it, unless I'm doing some deep cleaning. I love that one for a quick.
I don't know if you have the same thing, but I kill vacuums. Like my vacuums just die. It's not
I
like
think it's all for me. It's all the dog hair from the dogs.
I don't think that's for me.
What are
my
you
dog
doing
doesn't shed.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. I've gone through like 3 vacuums in the last.
And how long?
I stopped buying vacuums because now this is gonna sound bad when my cleaner brings her vacuum. But before I like earnestly tried to buy vacuums. I bought 3 in 6 years.
What?
And they all broke.
You know what's funny? I used to like buy a really, really good vacuum, and then I realized there's not that much of a difference. So I just started buying cheaper vacuums.
Oh, good tip.
Yeah.
You heard it
I think first. I did I used to like, we had a Dyson, and that actually, the big Dyson, maybe this is just all that to say that Dyson doesn't last that long.
That's what I heard. Dyson's supposed to be amazing.
They work fantastic
Dyson,
at the time.
don't come at us.
I know.
We're gonna
sorry.
Get like, we're gonna be like, put it back over your head. It's gonna be like the Dyson.
Do not disclose who we are to Dyson. Oh goodness. So I do like that. I'm trying to think of like I don't know, like something super cool and helpful and everyday. This is not a device. It's certainly not technologically advanced, but since I do interior design and rentals and properties, I always carry around a really good tape measure in my car and use it way more than you would think. Well, maybe just in my line of work. I don't know. What about you? What would you say?
I was going to say my earbuds.
Oh, yeah.
I love those things. And then notebooks and pens. I have a secret closet full of notebooks.
A secret closet?
They're not secret. It's not a secret closet. I just want to sound dramatic, but it's it's an embarrassing amount of notebooks.
Really? So okay, I'll never buy you that as a present now that I know.
You can, because I actually love them. And
really?
I appreciate
okay.
Because I love notebooks.
I found really cool pens that I'm obsessed with. Okay, so I was buying Audrey's back to school stuff, which for Dean's school, you just buy the whole pack. For Audrey's school, you have to one by one go down the list. And I've seen like that funny meme about back to school shopping in the 90s. It's like, okay, so we'll go to Walmart, get 5 folders, we'll get some pens, we'll get some crayons. Great. Okay. like, $35 out the door. It was like $300 of stuff. Plus you needed the TI 82 or 83 graphing calculator this year for math and algebra. Those things are over $100. I mean, it was really expensive. But since I was looking on Amazon, they have so many cool options. Like this is one of my new pens.
It's pretty.
Exhibit A. Very pretty. They had really great colors.
You always get pretty stuff.
Muted pastel. It just inspires me more because I love visual things. So yeah, I found a lot of really great pens. I got new folders that are in kind of muted pastels. And I told myself I was going to get really organized, and I've got about 10% of the way there by purchasing the organizational items, but I will do it this fall. It's hard when school starts and things are so busy in the beginning, and it's just like, like running around with the chicken, head cut off. Okay, what was your major in college, and do you use it now or not?
My major in college was history.
Oh.
And I do not use it, except for when reading historical fiction to fact check. But I love history still.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of money.
Because you're an avid reader, though. History is a lot of reading.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But it could have been English.
That's true. Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was history.
Right.
How about yours?
I was a communication major and a business minor, but I really did it thinking I was going to work in public relations. And
you did for a bit.
I interned for longer than I actually worked and got paid in public relations, which is funny. I interned like 3 summers and 1 whole semester my senior year at one of the top public relations firms, and then went straight into a job. I mean, so much so that I skipped my senior college graduation trip with all my roommates. They had at that point gone to Portugal and Spain. And it's since then that I've been wanting to go.
Oh,
and finally did it this summer. Yeah. I went straight into my trip. I think I literally graduated, and the following week I started my job. And I would never recommend that to young people today, because then I decided I promptly hated working in PR after 6 months full time and went to do more creative writing, style editing at a startup company. And that job I absolutely loved. but lost funding. It was like 2007, 2008.
Oh yeah, when
all the
publishing
VCs were pulling funding,
Yeah.
the economy was tanking, and all the money dried up. And then I found myself out of a job and became an entrepreneur. So yeah, I guess I used the business stuff and communication. Like communicate every day, right? I guess we're communicating now. Hey.
Look at us.
I know. I should have done. They had like a really great broadcast journalism program though. Like the Annenberg School for Journalism was known for like Matt Leinart was there.
TCC offers broadcasting. We should look
Really?
into classes there.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they have a green screen.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna write that on my
look at that.
handy notebook.
Just coming up with good ideas on the fly. Okay, if you weren't doing this now, or if you could create a dream job description for yourself and what you wanted to do every day, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I love doing this. I love working with you. I like a lot of things, but I also don't. I know what I don't like. I worked in the corporate world for a long time, and I don't like really intense corporate cultures because I will get drawn into it and then it will eat me. And so I have to be really mindful, and I hate working remote 100% of the time.
Yeah, you just don't feel like you're part of anything.
You don't feel like, and I love working with people, and I love managing people, and I love that part. I just, day in and day out, just staring at a screen was just too much for me. So I don't know. What do you want to be when you grow up, Yel?
It's funny. So I once had a business coach when I had my former business in event planning design, and she had me do some exercises. And one of them she mentioned was write an ideal day in your life 10 years from now and what you want to do from start to finish, whatever. And in it, I didn't have like a specific career, but I knew I wanted to be doing something creative where I would not have to work the entire day. So I still had enough time to myself, still had enough time to work out, and really kind of built an overall life where I had beautiful things around me that I enjoyed too. And I remember I even went so far as to describing like after picking the kids up from school, I would, we'd make a really nice, beautiful, healthy meal at home that everyone enjoyed. And granted, this has not happened yet, but maybe when they're older, like take it outside and eat it outdoors under trees. I lived in California, not the blazing heat of Texas at the time. So, I don't know how realistic that is, maybe in fall or maybe in spring. But I kind of I've always wanted to do something creative. I think I always toyed with the idea of being a writer, and I did do it, but not for myself. I never wrote my own stuff. When that startup went under and they just came in one day from New York and cut the entire LA office, and we were all out of a job randomly out of nowhere. And I did have this idea for a book series that I never actually ended up writing. And it's funny because since then I've seen some books.
Fiction book series?
Yes, a fictional book series. Mm-hmm. And it's historical fiction. And interestingly, it was also based on like the principles of manifestation and abundance and The Secret.
Like The Little Prince.
Yeah, which that is one of the gifts I have to give you. I have your gifts from my London trip. I finally pulled them out.
Tell me The Little Prince?
Yes.
Aww, I love that book.
That and The Great Gatsby. And it's like this really pretty version from that Liveria in Porto. And it's so beautiful. It's like supposed to be one of the world's most beautiful bookstores. And it looks like, I don't know, something out of Beauty and the Beast. And it's so pretty. So I got those there. And then I got you a meditation eye mask that's really pretty from Fortin and Mason in London, which is another great place to visit if you're ever in London, listeners.
Well, we should do travel tips. Let us know.
We should do travel tips.
You want to hear some travel tips?
We travel a lot. We should
we'll
do
probably
a travel
just tell
hacks.
you anyway, even if you don't want to know.
And a packing hacks.
I love followers now.
I know. Ask away. We can answer all your questions.
It's like
the list is not long right now.
Or you call me back? Like, no.
Right now, we're asking each other our own questions.
Absolutely no one asked us for this.
We hope you enjoy.
It's like, everyone keeps asking.
I know. It's like those things. Like, are they really asking you that? I think I have this
you have a beautiful writing style.
Thank you. Really I always loved it. Like in my free time as a child, I would sit and write out like novel ideas and then sit and write them.
Drawing is amazing. You can do like
I used to really love drawing. Now it's not so good. You know what's funny though? There's quite a few really legit artists in my family. And I always thought that I was very good as well. I have since come to accept that I think it was a case of the 10,000 hour rule. I was an only child and I would sit and draw for hours alone because I had no siblings to play with. My mom didn't let me have a lot of play dates with friends. And until I got really into like sports and horseback riding and soccer when I was older, I would just sit at home and like draw for hours. And when we were kids, it wasn't endless YouTube. Netflix and YouTube and shows to watch that were kid appropriate. So it's like, okay, my mom had like Oprah and Dr. Phil on in the background or was cooking, and I just sit at this little table, drawing. So I loved it so much and I did it so much that I think I naturally became good at it. But is it just like, for example, my uncle, when he was 5 years old, he was drawing cars just from his mind in a way that it could have been used in a Disney film. Like he's that good. And he has his own massively successful architecture firm nowadays. And his dad was this famous Serbian oil painter. And I still have lots of his art that I've been lucky enough to inherit and hang in my home. But I can't do that.
But don't judge your art. Don't judge it. Just
I enjoy it. I've actually been
comparison is the thief of joy.
You know what I did? I actually relatives. Yeah, I would totally be an artist too. That'd be really fun.
I could see you as an artist. Just to sit there creative. And paint.
Yeah,
you are an artist.
Thank you. We're all artists. We're all artists at heart. But I think anything just in the creative vein, it makes me happy. It brings me joy. Anything, and also I find it just easy. Like a friend just asked me to write. Actually a letter for her, like just testifying something for her to help her out in a way the other day. And I haven't sat down to write anything like that, just anything really like that. That's not just bullet points, to-do lists, home walkthroughs, things like that in a while. And it just kind of flowed in 5 minutes. Like, wow, thank you. So thorough and great. And you really told the story. I was like, I kind of enjoyed it, even though it was for a boring like court thing, And so yeah, someday when I'm older, I think I'd like to get back to it. And I did buy an art course too. They kept marketing toward me on Instagram, and I'm a sucker for, they know exactly like what I like.
Watercolor or oil?
I think it's acrylic painting, which is what I have the most experience in painting because I did AP art in high school too. So I went all the way up to high school, and it was like I never really did art again, except to draw for my little tiny tattoo I got.
Well, you do art all the time. Like Yana has such a beautiful taste and stuff.
Oh, thank you.
You do.
Well, I do like, visual.
This is art. You can't see the whole room. Yeah. But, like it's gorgeous.
For decorating and visual stuff and for clients, I do that. But it'd be fun to do. Sketching.
Yeah.
So whenever I find free time, I would like to take those art courses that I paid for online.
You could probably start like a business doing like furniture drawing. Like
oh, I took a course in that too once, but I actually did it when I was an event designer. Mm-hmm. And it's shout out to Very Mary Inspired, my friend Mary Fan in the Bay Area. Although she may have moved or was thinking of moving, but she had this course called the Sketchbook Series. And she was a former interior designer. She kind of flip-flopped my journey. So I started off doing event design and ended up going into interiors. She was a formerly trained interior designer and beautiful sketch artist. And she was used to doing hand renderings of interiors. And she took those skills and she converted it to events and was teaching event designers how to create these beautiful sketches to illustrate their ideas to a client.
Oh, I love that.
And it was even more useful nowadays with AI and stuff. You can kind of describe something and it can mock it up. But before that, it was really hard to communicate to your client without a visual what your idea was in your mind for the event design and to have them understand it. Because usually you are hired as an event designer because they don't have a good sense of design. So they're not visualizing stuff in your mind. Like when I see something or for an event or have an idea, it's a visual in my mind. I can see it like a picture. And so for a client, trying to translate something from your mind into a way that they can understand it before AI was it was very difficult, and it would take a long time and a lot of Photoshop and, so just being able to sketch something out. So I did do that, and it was really, really fun. And she's super talented and awesome. And I think she's doing women's retreats now. Last we talked, we check in every couple of years, but we used to be each other's accountability partners when we were event designers. Yeah. And so just getting the business side and the back end of stuff taken care of and having someone to work with, because it's kind of what I love about what we do now is we get to work together and bounce ideas off each other. I think when you can build on that creative energy and have someone else to balance you out, you just kind of helps. It's more communal. It's more, creative, and you build on ideas and you create something greater than what the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Is that the saying? Let's hope I didn't butcher that too badly. But I think that with two people, like it's like 1 + 1 = 3. So you can create better ideas and bounce ideas off each other, and it's more communal, and you're just kind of working together as opposed to siloing yourself off, working alone. Kind of like if you're working, from home and you're just by yourself all day. It gets exhausting. It's not invigorating, rejuvenating. You don't feel like you've been social at all. So that's why we had our little accountability partnership and stuff. If you're listening to this, Mary, hope all is well. Let me know what you're up to now.
Comment on our post.
Tell us, ask us questions, Mary. Are you out there?
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in sunny San Diego, California. And I grew up in the same house from when I was 6 months old to my parents sold it when I was 27 and pregnant with Audrey. I love that house. It was great. And I was in North County, which was very undeveloped when we first moved there. And now even back then when I was 27, when they sold the house, it's just completely developed and built out. But there was not a lot to do. I would go play in my yard and make up stories in my head or draw all day. I lived on a really steep hill and had no friends on my street, which is why my best friend from, I think it was like age 9, 10 on was Jenny. And she lived on an amazing cul-de-sac nearby with a million kids, and they would all run out and play together. And it was like the typical, 80s, 90s childhood that you think about. And so I loved going over to her house, and she had 2 sisters. And so we had all these crazy antics. We would like pick plums from her trees and sell them for a quarter to all the neighborhood kids in the summer. And it was just so much fun. When I was at home, I was very quiet and lonely. I guess it gave me a lot of time for my own thoughts. But I loved San Diego. It's very different now.
San Diego's beautiful.
Yeah, it's still beautiful though. And the weather. You
yeah.
can't beat the weather. Especially I dream about it living in Texas.
The ocean, being near the ocean.
Yeah, I do love being near the ocean. Okay, tell us about where you grew up.
I was born in Brooklyn, and I moved to Italy right after I was born. And then moved back to New York when I was like almost 4 years old. And growing up in Brooklyn, I thought was awesome. I had so much access to all this culture and all these restaurants, and there is a public library right down my street, which I thought really I spent a lot of time in. I think that's what fostered my love of reading. My mother loved to read too, or loves to read, and so I was at that library all the time. There was so much good food. I went to the Met and all of these museums. There are so many different types of people. There are so many different with so many different backgrounds, both socioeconomic backgrounds and education and interests. And it was just a wealth of cultural
melting pot.
Yeah, diaspora. I don't know. Now, diaspora is when they move away, like a melting pot, I guess is the right word. Yeah, great. Thank you. And and I just loved it. And I've always loved people, which is why I love marketing, and I loved understanding people. And it was just the best place to grow up if you love people and love observing them and love talking to them. And yeah, I lived in such a beautiful area. I always felt safe, even though back in the day, I got a little street
edgy,
cred.
Right?
Yeah, because
now it's like
different. But growing up in the 90s before Giuliani cleaned it up, it was, it's still where I lived is really safe. I lived right on the Brooklyn Manhattan border. Yeah, it was fun. I want to go back. I go back as much as I can. I still love New York.
We're going back next week.
We're going back next week, yeah. I love New York visit. I was there last month, and I'm going back next week. But
I love visiting New York.
The energy. You can't beat the energy in New York.
It's kind of like America's London, right?
Maybe.
Most similar?
Maybe.
No.
I think New York
I used to think San Francisco was more similar to London, and that Paris reminded me of LA. If we're comparing Europe versus
Are you thinking looks or vibes?
Vibes.
Maybe
But
London
now
is more
San
like
Francisco's too gross.
New York has an
No offense, San
energy.
Francisco. I hope we don't have any listeners from there. I used to live there. So many good things about it, but it's kind of it has its own share of problems now. It needs to go find itself and clean up its act
Does
for a
it?
couple of years and come back a new person.
I haven't been there in a while, but I loved it when I was there. New York
The
has an
food's
energy
good.
that makes you feel like anything is possible,
It's
which I
true.
think is very unique to New York. I have not
Mhm.
experienced, like, Paris is romantic. London has a great energy and makes you feel the history of London when you're there, and you feel like
It's a little more
just
stodgy though, and
yeah.
like set in its ways, which oddly I like because I think I'm an old curmudgeon at heart sometimes. But you're right. New York has more of like a possibilities vibe.
Possibility. Like you feel like you need to do stuff in New York.
Mhm.
Like everyone's in a rush to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And it
good
just gives
energy.
you, it's like a draining. I mean, to have it all the time is a lot, but I thrive on that kind of energy. So it worked out for me.
That's awesome.
New York. I love you.
New York, New York.
Favorite food?
Oh gosh, this is really hard. I love food. I love food. I love all kinds of food. I don't think there's one type of food that I don't love. Dairy and gluten don't love me back sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So if it weren't for that, I would 100% say like a really good wood-fired pizza
Mm-hmm.
with fresh ingredients, homemade in a wood-fired oven, preferably somewhere in Europe. But I love seafood too. I don't know. I love everything. I just love good food. I love food that's rich, but still like, farm to table ingredients with a story behind it, preferably. It's just really pretty in presentation. It just does something for me. I'm a total foodie.
Mm.
What about you?
I have certain types of food that I love with a passion. I love bread.
Who doesn't?
I really love bread. I worked at a bakery as my first job. I love oysters. I will always
love
order
oysters.
I will always order a certain type of ice cream that you can really only find in Italy.
What is it?
Nocciola.
I love Nocciola.
So good.
So good. It's the hazelnut one,
The
right?
hazelnut.
Yes. Well, because I used to be able to eat all the dairy and all the gelato, and that was my favorite flavor because I love hazelnut flavor. That's why I love Nutella, and I love the hazelnut in my in coffees and stuff. Oh,
so fun good. Story. Kroger had a hazelnut flavor by Tillamook.
Oh.
Which makes great ice cream.
Yes, they do.
And I love that flavor so much. I would go to Kroger every week and I would dig through. I remember my son being like, "This is not that serious." I was like, "Yes, it is." Because I'm standing on top of the
for yourself.
And then they discontinued it. And I was devastated. I wrote them fan mail. I was like,
have you ever had Talenti gelato?
They don't have hazelnut.
They don't have hazelnut? No. Gosh, I would have pegged them for someone who would have gotten hazelnut.
And a lot of the gelato makers don't make hazelnut.
That's so weird. Yeah, it's a classic when you're over in Italy. It's a classic. I mean, hello.
But anyway, and when I was in Italy, I ate it every day.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So oysters, bread, hazelnut ice cream, and maybe some candy. And I am happy as a clam. And a book and a glass of wine, and you could just leave me there. Be happy.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite drink or favorite wine varietal?
Oh, I don't know. I like white wine, rosé. I don't have a favorite brand. How about you?
Well, of course, add it to my list of things that I'm trying to not react to by meditating and calming my body's autonomic nervous system with. But I used to love Pinot Noir and Sauvignon Blanc were two of my favorites. I love The Prisoner blend. That's good. Mm-hmm. Or is it a Pinot Noir? Is it a Pinot Noir or is it a blend? It's a red blend?
I think it's a red blend.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. We always had it. Used to drink lots of Veuve, like Whispering Angel Rosé, which I don't know if that makes me basic.
It's pretty basic, but
it's also pretty delicious. Yeah. Sancerre, I like as well. But nowadays, I generally just pick a really boring cocktail. I'm going to have one drink because I know it won't give me a headache. It has to be a clear alcohol. So it'll be a ranch water with a tequila. So just tequila, soda, and lime, or it'll be a vodka soda with lemon and not lime. So kind of boring, and a gluten-free vodka. So very, very boring and basic. When I'm on vacation, I love to have a fun cocktail because I'm going out to really good restaurants. I'll always look at their cocktail menu and find something that sounds unique and delicious. And it's going to be a pretty drink because it just adds to the vibe of the meal and the vacation. So I love doing that. Yeah, I used to drink a lot more than I do now. The older I get,
The
I notice
hangovers
it.
aren't worth it.
It's not.
It's just not.
And there's just too much to do in a day. Like I
I
can't
know.
start the day feeling behind and not at my best.
And that,
So
if I have more than one drink, that is what always happens.
Same. Yeah. I mean, even last night I went out for a friend's birthday and I rarely drink wine because I noticed the effect the next day, but I did have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc and I really enjoyed it. It was so good. And it didn't even bother me physically, like in a reactionary way, like inflammatory, which is what happens sometimes. But I absolutely noticed it this morning. I was telling French, I'm like, well, I had a latte with 3 shots this morning. Then I had 2 Diet Cokes at lunch. And I was having another, it's this new drink from Starbucks. It's like an oleato.
Hazelnut?
Toffee nut oleato made with oat. They make it with oat milk and they can do the foam dairy free too. It was delicious.
Was it?
I think it was probably filled with sugar and that's why I feel like a little more peppy right now. But I'm like, that took 4 caffeinated drinks to keep me functioning at full speed after having 1 glass of wine last night with dinner. So,
well, it's interesting because in Italy, they have wine all the time. But they have wine with their meals, like cold red wine, which I actually have taken a liking to.
I like cold red wine. I like it a little bit chilled. I don't like it like room temperature.
Me either, unless it's a Cabernet.
It's too thick.
But like Pinot, I think is nice to have with, or I put ice in it. They'll always have a glass of wine, not always, but like they'll have a glass of wine, like old people, young people, anyone, with not super young, but with lunch, with dinner, and that's it. Like it's like part of their, like they don't drink water. They just drink wine and coffee in the morning.
You know what I thought was interesting? So I was reading somewhere after The Crown, the TV show on Netflix or series on Netflix ended. And they were saying how the Queen had a drink with lunch and a drink in the evening every single day of her life. And she lived healthy, well into her 90s. And granted, she probably had the world's best medical team and care. However,
but she was out, like she had to work every day.
Yeah, she had to be completely conscious and functioning. Yeah. And I think also if your body gets used to it and it's just part of your routine, your body adapts also.
I think it's just the eating it with food also helps it. Like they're not having a cocktail before dinner.
That's
like
true.
They're not like chatting,
they're sipping it slowly with their meal.
Eating meal and like it's part of their meal. It's not part like true. Drinking is not it's not a culture of drinking. It's part of it's like drinking.
Part of the dining experience.
Yeah,
I agree. It's
so
different.
That's what makes it different. It's like they won't have a drink after they finish eating. It's not like let me have another beer. You know.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. It's just one with the meal. It's healthier.
I think my dad's like almost 80 and he has a glass of wine or a beer every single day.
Yeah.
Just one.
My grandparents did.
And he's as healthy as can be. Yeah. And he is fit.
Yeah.
But I think the secret is he just has one. And he always has it with food. He'll never have like a glass of wine. Just Have you ever read Men's Search for Meaning?
No, but my dad, I'm pretty sure he gave me that book and told me to read it before he passed. And I should absolutely do that.
But one of his...
Maybe we can do that on a future episode.
Oh, I'd love that. We can talk... it's either a quote or it's something about the book. It's one of the last human freedoms is the ability... And he was... So background on Viktor Frankl, I think he was in Auschwitz during the Holocaust.
Oh, wow.
And he wrote this book about Search for Meaning based on his observations of people who either like completely died in the during in the
Holocaust
internment camps, or but basically it's like of the people who were able to thrive, maybe not thrive but survive. What did they have? What did they have? They were all being treated the same. They were all being treated like shit. But like what made one person survive and one person die? And basically this is the quote, is the last of man's human freedoms is the ability to choose your own attitude in any given circumstance. So basically they can take away anything from you, but they cannot take away how your own mind.
The power of your mind. Yeah. That's so true. It really is up to you to decide how you want to feel in any given situation. And that's the hardest thing to hear and accept if you haven't really studied the concept
right.
and tested it out for yourself. But every time I remind myself of it, I realize how very true it is. And we are just coming out of, I think today might be the first official day out of Mercury in retrograde and the super blue full moon that we just had that was supposed to be throwing off some crazy energy. And I have not had a period in my life where I've had so many crazy, weird things go wrong, go awry, take longer, be frustrating, go wrong than the last couple weeks. And I also, at a certain point, realized the more I talk about it and make it a big deal and get frustrated about it, another thing would happen. And another thing would happen. And it reminded me, we were on the way to school this morning, and my daughter kept trying to do her hair, and she always complains about her hair. She has really thick, curly hair, and she complains about it. And I keep telling her, you've got to find a way to love your hair. It's beautiful. It's such a unique thing about you. You need to embrace it, love it, and learn how to work with it instead of trying to fight it and make it look straighter. And
they have curly haircuts.
Did you ever go? Yes.
Okay.
But she won't maintain it. She won't use the products regularly. She'll do it like once, like it, and then be lazy on her own. And she's, she's turning 13, so she's at an age where she needs to do her own hair and manage it and learn how to accept it. So we've tried everything. All she wants is blowouts and keratin treatments in Brazilian. I'm like, no. Don't start damaging your hair at an early age. Learn to love it and embrace it. And she really has beautiful hair. In humid weather, it just gets curlier. It doesn't get crazy. Mine just looks like a rat's nest sometimes. So it's really hard, though, teaching someone that. And she kept complaining, trying to redo it. And she would complain more, and it would get worse. And the situation, and she was like, just frustrated, like trying to pull the bobby pins out, and they were getting stuck in her hair. And I was like thinking this lesson to myself this morning. She's got to learn. Just the more you fight something like that, the more you get mad about it, it really makes the situation. And even if it's not even getting that much worse, you feel so much worse about it.
Yeah.
Because you're just throwing more negativity at it instead of just accepting it.
The serenity prayer. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Yeah. To change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There's some things you can't change.
I know. I mean, I remember I was trying to tell her that in the 90s, I was super frustrated with my hair because it's sort of wavy, sort of straight, but I have to make a conscious effort to style it one way or another. I can never just let it air dry or walk out of the house. I said, you are so lucky. You don't have to, you can literally walk out of the house and your hair will dry curly and beautiful. I can't do that.
She has to figure that out on her own. She's 13. She just wants to fit in.
I just don't want her to be 13. So mad at her hair and herself. And she's like, I have terrible hair. I go, what? You think people are telling Zendaya she has terrible hair? No, her hair is probably harder to deal with than yours is even, because she has kind of, from Mike's side of the family, some hair. So there's some kink to it and texture and all sorts of, things that I can't really help her style, that I try and research, but she just gets frustrated. And so anyway, that was a fun journey, but similar lesson. You have to accept certain things and work with them and not against them. Mm-hmm. Or what can you do?
Mm-hmm. We can do another one, like the next one. Probably not now. Like how we met, how we started, why we started it, what we hope to do with it. And you guys can find all that out. Exciting stuff, guys.
I know. I hope you find this somewhat interesting. I don't know. Just getting to know us a little bit and who we are, and I guess next time why we do what we do. I mean, we just love reading, first and foremost, and we love trying to improve ourselves in little ways and get a little bit better and grow as people, I think. And so if that's something that's important to you as well, we hope you're finding some good nuggets from the information that we're sharing and the books that we're sharing and the stories that we share about ourselves. We hope you find us palatable along the way. I was going to say interesting.
We hope you can tolerate us.
If you're still listening, we haven't annoyed you sufficiently. No, seriously. Thank you for listening. And we would love to hear from you if you do have opinions or what you enjoy hearing about the most. Because, we also want to be here to serve. And if you just want to hear about the books and less of our lives and chit chat, super happy to do that as well.
We also need advice on how to end this. Because we're always like,
I know. Bye. If you have a great idea for a sign-off phrase that we can use.
Yeah, like one that makes us look cool, not cheesy,
We need to work on that for sure. Now it's time to sign off, and we have no phrase yet again.
The first thing in my head goes is peace, but I can't say peace. It sounds so stupid. Please.
We're at peace. Peace, love. Keep it real. Peace.
But it's like, anyway, it's so hard to think of a sign off, guys.
It really is. We need to just have a whole brainstorm session of sign offs one day. It'll happen.
Yep.
We'll get there. Maybe by episode 10. We'll launch episode 10 with our official sign off.
Almost 9 podcast episodes. Look at us.
I know.
Look at us.
Go us. So
even though we're like, it's Christmas time, but it's like people are listening to it in July.
I know. It's so funny. I had actually, Mike's business partner was listening, I guess, and he's like, but, Yelena's still talking about the divorce and stuff. I was like, it was a year ago.
Oh, yeah, we need an update on Yelena's not getting divorced, guys.
Oh, yeah. Yay. You probably gleaned that by now, The Ring, and I think we alluded to it once or twice before.
But we haven't talked about it in the podcast yet.
We haven't. But also, have we talked about the book? We have. Book? We already filmed that
Attached.
One. Yeah.
Yes.
So after reading Attached and after reading, How
to Be the Love You Seek.
No, same author, Nicole LaPera.
What's the other one?
Do the
How
work.
To Heal. Oh, do the work. How to do the work.
How to do the work. And that book, actually, I think those two books, Attached and How to Do the Work, were the foundation for how I was able to reframe a lot of my feelings and experiences that had happened before and throughout the course of the divorce. And we literally got to the point where it was time to sign the final document. And we both just paused and thought, well, are we sure we really want to do this? Because we actually had, and I think partly due to me doing the work and reacting differently and more maturely, and him as well, I think that we had learned to get along better, be really good co-parents. And for me, it was the thought that, look, I think life gives you lessons and you learn them one way or another. And your growth is, you can only be responsible for your own growth and change. Mm-hmm. And if I apply all this growth and change over the past 2 years to my old relationship, like, could it help? Could it grow in a different way? Could we relate to each other differently? And so for me, that was the impetus for thinking, well, maybe it's worth giving another go. And I think we've both grown and changed and try every day to be better people and relate to each other in a more mature way, even after, being together for over 20 years. So that is worth a listen. That episode is coming up, I think, at some point soon. Yeah, in the next couple, we're going to release that one.
Which actually brings us into the next episode, where we're going to be talking about the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Mm-hmm. And the premise of the book kind of relates to what Yelena said about the 2 books that she read, How to Do the Work, and was it Attached?
Attached.
And is that the best way to change someone else is to change your attitude towards them. Mm-hmm. And so if someone's not behaving the way that you want them to, or you're not getting the results out of that person, like, there's ways to behave differently towards them that might help them respond differently.
Change the result and the outcome of how you're relating to each other. And it's interesting because as I was reading that in How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I'd read many years ago and didn't catch it then because I wasn't as into the spiritual stuff and readings, everyone is really just a mirror of ourselves, right? Yes. And different people may mirror different aspects of our own personality and who we are and who we want to be in the future. And so when we identify someone we like, it's usually we like the traits that they reflect back to us.
And when someone annoys you, it's like, what is annoying about yourself or frustrating you? Or if you criticize someone, it's like, what don't you like about yourself that you're seeing in this person?
And it could be something very similar. And like just slightly off, that's annoying you, that's kind of reminding you of an annoying trait that you might have yourself that you haven't really dug into, uncovered, and kind of wish you didn't have. So that's really interesting as well.
Yeah. But I don't think this is going to be an Instagram reel. That was the original intention. But all right. We still don't have an ending, so we're just going to say ciao.
What is it? Au revoir, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. From Sound of Music.
was not what I was going for. But
I saw the hand go, and that's all I can think. It's just Julie Andrews. Sound of Music.
I actually don't know what I was going for with that. So you made it better, as you usually
do. What's the Reading Rainbow sign off? It's probably they've probably expired on their copyright. Maybe we can just take that.
Great ideas. How do you say bye in Serbian?
Do viđenja.
Do viđenja. I like it. That's actually
it's wordy.
Do viđenja.
It's a lot. The language is very full of different conjugations based on like time of day, gender. That it's very complicated language. But yeah, do viđenja.
Do viđenja.
Ciao.
Adios. Arrivederci.